Hello and welcome to History Talk. Today we're going to be looking at William Whitelaw coming to Northern Ireland. So let's head straight in. Okay, that's good. Hello and welcome back to History Talk, the place where we talk about history. So today we're going to be talking about William Whitelaw. And basically William Whitelaw was the man who he was sent in to be the Secretary for State for Northern Ireland. So basically he was the person who's supposed to kind of run Northern Ireland from a British sense when direct rule was introduced. So what exactly did he do? What was his relationship with the IRA? Because at the time the IRA were a lot more active. Because, a lot of the time the problem was that if you intern people, if I feel that let's say I feel that I don't want this, I don't want to be discriminated against, but I'm not going to use violence because I think violence isn't the answer. But then I'm arrested and imprisoned, or my brother is arrested and imprisoned, or my sister is arrested and imprisoned, or my father is arrested and imprisoned. The point is, whatever situation you get, if you've got that sort of thing where you see, even if it's not personal, even just a general sort of thing where someone who's of the same kind of belief as you is just arrested and imprisoned with no trial, no way of defending themselves, they're arrested for a crime they didn't really commit, but it's further than that though. They're arrested for a crime which is, it's kind of, it's easy to sort of put you're not giving them a chance to defend themselves at all. Like, you're blanketly admitting that you won't give them a trial. Just straight up arrest and imprisoned. That's, of course, how kidnappings work. So, they're not arresting officially, but that's sort of the way it works. So if you look at it like that, it begins to cause problems, because what happens is people start to simply look at the IRA and think, well, peace clearly wasn't working. I was peaceful for ages. And what do? They just arrested the person. I could be next, and that's the problem. I could be next mentality creates this sort of drive, so that increases kind of IRA balance, increases all these sorts of things. And the fact that Bloody Sunday has happened, that doesn't help either. So anyway, at first Whitelaw thought that the best solution to dealing and ending the violence was to sort of introduce measures that would improve relations between the nationalist community. So that was, wise enough. So basically what happened was hundreds of internees were released from prison, and those who remained were given special category status. This meant that they wouldn't be treated as ordinary criminals, because some of them weren't really ordinary criminals in a way. I mean, some of them were, but if some of them would have been a little bit more political than violent in some cases. Of course, if you look at Ian Paisley, for example, kind of both. No offense to him. Or is that offensive? Maybe he'd take it well. Anyway, so following discussions with John Hume, the original IRA agreed to a ceasefire on the 26th of June. The provisional IRA negotiators are flown to London, where they start to enter talks with William Whitelaw. However, the IRA are not very good negotiators here, because their terms are fairly bad. This is not obviously a way you want to. If you're looking for peace, the terms are not a very good system. Their terms include British withdrawal from Northern Ireland. Now, obviously, you can believe in, you can want that if that's what you want, but to say to a government to get out of the country we're in, even though some of us support you, the British government did not respond well to that, and talks collapsed within 2 days. So that was not so successful in its endeavours, really. So this becomes a problem, because, well, you don't want to really have this sort of thing where you're like, well, you're going, because these talks have collapsed, it means that the ceasefire ends and something worse, far, far worse, happens. Because you see, while the ceasefire ends on the 21st of July 1972, the IRA detonate 20 bombs within 65 minutes in Belfast. They kill 9 people and injure 130 people. This day becomes known as Bloody Friday. So, not the best policy to have, really. That is a lot of death and a lot of suffering caused by a paramilitary group. And you see this, it doesn't really paint a very good picture of the Provisional IRA. Now, this is not just me, of course. This is widespread condemnation of the explosives that are used on Bloody Friday. Whitelaw responds by implementing a British plan called Operation Motorman. On the 29th and 30th of July, thousands of British soldiers are flown into Northern Ireland, and their aim was to take back control of the no-go areas. These are the areas that the IRA are technically allowed to essentially rule free. You're not allowed to enter them if you're part of the British Army, so they are used by some to basically be safe houses. So the no-go areas are to be taken back. They're mostly located in nationalist areas of Belfast and Derry. They were so called because they had expected that there would be basically what there would have been if you just entered it, which would be rioting, breaking out. However, instead of the expected strong resist, the British Army are generally able to take over these no-go areas with relative ease. Now, next comes the Ulster Vanguard movement. This is an organisation led by William Craig within the Unionist Party. The Vanguard were in favour of a semi-independent Northern Ireland. Now, obviously, you could say that's fine, and many people would agree. You could argue, it's one thing to be part of the United Kingdom, but if you're part of the United Kingdom, are you still united? Because in a way, you're not, because you have to go to Westminster. While obviously you have Northern Ireland has its own parliament, that's constantly direct rule can be introduced at any moment, realistically. So you could argue, even to this day, if you're part of the UK, would you be able to? Is it true democracy to be told by a government to do this? Surely you should have something like the European Union, where you elect your individuals and then you vote on it, and it kind of has to. Everyone's vote goes like that. That you could argue is better, but then comes his next thing, which was opposition to the giving of concessions to the Catholic community. Now, that is obviously very, very problematic, because that is going to lose you a fair bit of followers if you're in an ordinary world, but because you're in Northern Ireland, it's gaining you quite a lot of Unionist followers. Anyway, in a protest against the introduction of direct rule, the Vanguard organised a 2-day workers' strike in March 1972. This brought Northern Ireland to a standstill. An estimated 100,000 people took part in a rally at Stormont during the strike. Now, in these years, there is a fairly massive growth in loyalist paramilitary organisations. You see this in the IRA when Bloody Sunday happens and innocent people are killed, and people are just going, well, if this problem can't be solved by, just marching against things, then we're going to have to take up arms and that sort of thing. That happens, and then you have the Unionists. Because in 1971, for example, a loyalist paramilitary organisation, the UDA, or the Ulster Defence Association, was founded in Belfast. The stated aim of theirs was to defend the Protestant communities from attack by Republicans, which is not too vague, but it's vague enough that it causes problems later down the line. Because what do you mean by Republican? If I don't tell you that I'm a Republican, then how would you know? Because I'm not, but someone might think I am. Especially if you don't know me. Like, if you don't know me, then you might go down the street and think, oh, that person's a Republican. Bam. That causes problems because you can't just say, oh, we're protecting against people. Like, it's the same issue that America had with its, stand your ground laws. Like, you can just say, oh, yeah, I was fearful because they were coming to me in a menacing manner. So, yeah, shooting them was fine. That's the problem. You have this issue, which is having this sort of problem, which is that's not something you can identify. You can't identify the person as a Republican. So, obviously, you'd think that this might be problematic, but no. Membership for the UDA increases rapidly over the next few years. So, throughout 1972, many members of the Protestant community joined, following the introduction of internment, as the increase in violence persuaded them that the police and army could no longer protect them. Membership also increased with the introduction of direct rule. Those who joined were opposed to the shutting down of Stormont Parliament, and they saw the release of internees by William Whitelaw as evidence that the government was siding with the Catholic community. Obviously, a bit paranoid there. Towards the end of 1972, there was an increase in the number of sectarian killings of Catholics by the UDA, and by the end of the year, 120 people had been killed by loyalists. So obviously, it's one thing to have an enemy, but it's quite another to profile a group and then just say that group is your enemy. Because why? Why? So, that obviously shows you the problems, of course, with the UDA and the IRA. IRA kills innocent people, just fine with that. And the loyalists, they seem fine with killing innocent people as well. So yeah, paramilitary groups, clearly in Northern Ireland, very, very bad. Anyway, join us next time when we'll be looking at whether or not the political solution was necessary. I would say yes, but you might say no. Join us then. We'll be talking about that. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel because that helps, and view other videos because we really want to be reaching that new YouTubers have like milestones. Like, yeah, when I do this, I'll have this, and then I'll do this, I'll do this, and then I'll do this, I'll do this. Something, yeah. So we have to get 1 million subscribers by 2020. Let's say 9. I don't know. Maybe we may not be available in 2029. YouTube may go or something like that, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you then.